This is Fox Sports Midwest presentation of St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And tonight, from Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis, the St. Louis Cardinals play host to the Chicago Cubs. When you think of the Cubs and the Cardinals, the history between the two is about great games, moments, and one of the greatest trades in Cardinals history back in 1964. Lou Brock became a part of St. Louis baseball lore. His career exploded wearing the birds on the bat. 938 career steals, over 3,000 hits, and a lifetime of memories for the best fans in the game. An all-century player. Lou Brock, a big piece of the puzzle that is the Cubs-Cardinals rivalry. And that rivalry continues tonight at Busch Stadium in game number 2 of a weekend series. And welcome to St. Louis Cardinals baseball. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. We're delighted to have you with us on this Saturday night. It's a rivalry that saw the Cardinals offense really go dormant last night. They need to step things up.
Yeah, this series always is exciting when the Cubs are in town. We love it, Dan. Certainly the players get amped up about it, but I think more than anything, the fans love the Cubs-Cardinals game. But this game here tonight, I think, has a little bit more import because the Cardinals are trying to figure out how to get back on track. This is a team that has not played as well as they did early on. You look at the full body of work, and you say this is a good Cardinal team, but they're going to have to get some things back on track.
In particular, trying to jumpstart their offense. How do they do that?
Well, I think Matt Carpenter is the key. I've been calling him the catalyst. He is so good at the top of the lineup. He's a guy that leads the National League in doubles, so he doesn't steal a lot of bases, but he gets the doubles. That puts him in situations with runners in scoring position for guys like Craig and others. And so to me, Matt Carpenter is still the key to this offense.
Bright spot last night, John Jay. We'll take a closer look at the Cardinals center fielder. 3 hits in game 1. Will they carry over to game 2? A look at Jay next. Edging closer to our first pitch. The Plaza champions just outside the ballpark. The Cubs and Cardinals coming up in game number 2 here on Fox Sports Midwest. Not much to tell you about in ways that are positive offensively for the Cardinals, but one that does stand out. How about John Jay in game 1?
Big night for him. 3 hits on the night. John Jay's been making some adjustments this year with his hands. He used the right field line, then the left field line. Pair of doubles. Then he drives one up the middle. John Jay starting to get locked in at the plate.
And also helping some kids prior to today's game. Keith Brooks, the commissioner of Redbird Rookies, the outreach baseball program of the Cardinals, hooking up with John Jay. Some batting tips from the Cardinal center fielder. Nicely done. To the ballpark, it's the Cardinals, it's the Cubs, it's game 2 tonight on Fox Sports Midwest. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you, and there's a look at Michael Wacha. Gets the start tonight, and he turned 22 back on July 1st.
Excited to see him back. I believe he is the future ace of this Cardinals rotation, and the Cardinals are going to need him down the stretch.
So Michael Wacha will be caught by Rob Johnson. Those two know each other well from their time in Memphis this year. Matt Carpenter in the starting lineup. Baseball coming up. Fox Sports 1 Fan Express. The girls in Cletus got going in San Antonio with a visit to the Alamo, plus the famed Riverwalk. Then a stop at El Mercado before they made their way to Austin for a Round Rock Express minor league baseball game at Dell Diamond. The Express is picking up momentum near the halfway point. A downright dizzying experience for the Fox Sports girls. They'll make a stop in St. Louis tomorrow over at Shannon's. You don't want to miss it. Times are waiting. Designated driver. See your Mid-America Chevy dealer or log on to stlchevy.com. Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake, just no equal. That's where the Fox Sports girls will be at tomorrow. The view from Mike Shannon's, just across the way from one of the entrances at Busch Stadium. We turn to Rick Horton's Toyota keys to the game.
I think the first and most important thing is for the Cardinals to find some offensive spark. Could it come from Matt Carpenter at the top of the lineup? I think that'd be the best choice. Getting on base for the guys who are so good with runners in scoring position. But for Waka, keep the ball down. He said that when he went to AAA, that's what he focused on. He had a so-so start, his last start in the big leagues, his first time up here, and the problem was too many pitches up in the zone. He thinks he's made the correction.
So Michael Waka getting the start this evening. Game 2 against the Cubs. He's our Kia starter.
And he really is the future of this Cardinal team. He has an electric stuff. In spring training, he had the veteran guys standing around him, watching him pitch, and just marveling at his stuff. Ball moves, throws hard, has good secondary pitches, and seems to have the right mound presence to go along with it.
And this will be the lineup that he will face this evening. David DeJesus, Junior Lake, Anthony Rizzo had a key RBI base hit that scored 2 in the 7th last night. Wellington Castillo, Nate Scherholtz, he's had a good year. Starlin Castro, Cody Ransom, Darwin Barney, Carlos Villanueva. Dobbs defense with Holiday, Jay, and Beltran in the outfield. Freeze, Descalso on the left side, Carpenter and Craig on the right side, and Rob Johnson. The familiarity with Michael Waka gets the start. Makes sense to put him behind the plate. David DeJesus hitting .262 with 6 home runs, and he's driven in 27. Michael Wacha talked about that downward plane. Cardinals have mentioned Adam Wainwright, how well he pitches Wainwright downward plane. And that's the thing that they really noticed in spring training about Wacha. Not just the exceptional changeup, but the downward plane of his pitches, and quickly it snowballs in 2 strikes.
When you're 6'6", that downward plane becomes even more of a problem for the hitter because the ball's coming down at more of a severe angle, and it's tougher to center it. When you're tall, use it.
Like that man, Adam Wainwright. With Wacha, they say his curveball's still very much a work in progress. And you saw the shot of Adam Wainwright. Michael was telling me in spring training that Adam was the one that really told him to get out in front of his pitches with the curveball. Sometimes releasing it near the ear, if you will, almost cupping the baseball.
And the fingers always have to be in front of the ball. Ultimately, you've got to make sure they're on top and then in front of the baseball to get a good curveball, making sure that you have the proper release point. Otherwise, it's nothing but a spinner.
De Jesus flies out to Holiday, and we're underway.
I can tell you, Dan, in spring training, I talked to Derek Lilliquist and Brian Eversgerd and every minor league coach I could find about Wacha that had him. And you'd ask about his command, and they'd say, oh, that's great. Well, his fastball, it's phenomenal. Movement, oh, perfect. And then I said, well, then what about his changeup? Oh, no, that's plus pitch, too. And
Best pitch.
They could not find anything, really, including his breaking ball. They thought it was a good breaking ball. And his mound presence, his demeanor, good teammate. I mean, the guy could have run for mayor in spring training.
I think it surprised some of us that Wacha didn't make that jump to the big leagues. I mean, there was even talk that he would be a guy that would make the incredible jump to the big leagues. But the Cardinals have the luxury of trying to develop players in the minor leagues. There's Junior Lake. Grounds to short. Descalso is there. 2 away.
Finally able to get a pitch down, too. He's been up in the zone here in the early going. Exactly what we're talking about. He needs to get the ball down. He did there on Lake. And, Dan, there was talk about him jumping, but it was just a year ago. He was drafted 2012, the 19th pick overall.
Anthony Rizzo batting .238. Pair of RBIs in the game late last night to make it a 3-run lead at that time. Cubs held on. He's up to 65 ribbies this season. Michael Wacha, first start was against Kansas City. There's a changeup that struck out the first man he ever saw in the big leagues, Alex Gordon. Very good changeup, the circle change. And the 0-2 pitch to Rizzo. Got him, and a strikeout for Wacha. That pitch at 96. in St. Louis. Michael Wacha, 96-mile-an-hour fastball to strike out Anthony Rizzo. That was good to see. It's Carpenter, Beltran, and Craig. Good to see Beltran back in the lineup. Holiday will be your cleanup man, followed by David Freese. He was batting second last night. Then John Jay, Rob Johnson, Daniel Descalso, the pitcher Michael Wacha. Cubs defense, Lake DeJesus, Shearholtz in the outfield, Ransom, Castro on the left side, Barney and Rizzo on the right side, Wellington Castillo, the battery with Carlos Villanueva.
This right-hander, a very much of a contrast to Michael Wacha, not a guy that is overpowering, does not have the big-time fastball. In fact, he's going to top out at about 89 miles an hour, but he throws everything but the kitchen sink. He has the slider, the cutter, the curveball, changeup. He'll even throw that slow curve, that 66, 67 mile an hour curveball from time to time. Has had a couple of good games against St. Louis.
And a strike taken by Carpenter. There's players' jerseys no longer with their respective franchises. Soriano, Pujols, Sandberg, Ron Santo, the Hall of Famer. And quickly, it's 0-2 on Matt Carpenter. He's hitting .302 with 9 home runs, and he's driven in 56. You mentioned it in the open. He is the catalyst, trying to get on base for the big RBI men. That's taken high.
And I've said it a couple times, Dan, but it is not to put pressure on Matt Carpenter, but the reality is we really praised him for being the guy that was getting the offense going for most of the season. Just his on-base percentage, hitting a lot of doubles, leading the National League in doubles. Cardinals have been very good with runners in scoring position, but in order to be that, you've got to have runners in scoring position. And Carpenter has been the guy setting the table often and kind of just, again, being a catalyst for this offense. They need him to do well.
Here's a 1-2. Check swing did not go. How about the Dodgers? They win again. Now 19-3 since the All-Star break. They beat the Rays 5-0. They had the dramatic win last night. And they are a season best 16 games over 500. Skip Schumacher with a 4-hit day. And Don Mattingly goes from fired to potentially being your manager of the year overnight.
And they're still not as hot as the Atlanta Braves.
Amazing, isn't
How
it?
can that be? Well, you think about the Cardinals over the last couple of weeks, and you'd have to say, on the bright side of this, they've just faced some teams going in the right direction, some teams playing well, and some teams pitching well in particular.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. A strikeout of Carpenter. Has words with our home plate umpire, Larry Vanover. Long-time Major League ump. Last night we saw Descalso and Mike Matheny ejected late. That was the third base umpire today, David Rackley, who was behind the plate last night.
We thought he had a generous strike zone all night long, including that last pitch on Descalso, and I just think it's very natural for emotions to run over when you're not playing as well as you know you can.
The shift is on the infield here for Carlos Beltran, batting .303, 20 home runs. He's driven in 61. There is no doubt with the 6:15 start, and we don't have as many 3:15 starts this year. Cardinals made a point of that, but the 6:15 starts, very tough to see for the right fielder. Many times on those Monday night games that are picked up by ESPN or the Saturday night games, becomes a very difficult situation for the right fielder. 1-2 the count on Carlos Beltran, the switch hitter. Back-to-back Ks to start the evening. Replay is brought to you by Plaza Tire Service.
You don't have to have a 95-mile-an-hour fastball to blow it by a batter. You just have to have it well set up, and that's what Villanueva did there. I think Carlos was looking for something either in or something off speed, and just couldn't catch up to that 90-mile-an-hour fastball up. There's the right fielder, and I guess that's what's so interesting about the game of baseball, Dan, is both teams have a right fielder, so it still evens out. You just have to be better than the other guy. It's hot for both teams on certain days. The sun's in your eye for both teams.
Good luck
dealing with the elements.
It's tough. I know Beltran has had fits out there, even Alan Craig at times in right field. Thought it very interesting in reading the Post-Dispatch today about the lack of home runs hit in this ballpark this year. They are second from the bottom as far as home runs seen this year, and Mike Matheny has said he's looked at a couple of balls that have been hit this year that he thought for sure were out of the ballpark, and not just barely getting over the wall, but 3, 4, 5 rows deep. And we talked about it with him before the first half came to a close. Not just his team, but also the opposing teams that come in. So on both sides, we're just not seeing the ball travel all that much.
Very few home runs here at Busch Stadium. I thought Alan Craig had one here yesterday. Just didn't carry.
2-2. Cardinals don't hit the long ball, but they score a lot of runs. We know about the gaudy numbers that they've had this year with runners in scoring position. And the Cubs not scoring many runs, but hitting the home runs. The 2-2 pitch. And that's it out of play. We see that Ballpark Village is starting to really come together. You can see where the seating is taking place in left field, left center. And I talked to Bill DeWitt, the Cardinals president, about that. I said, will that change what happens as far as balls leaving the ballpark?
Wondered the same thing.
And honest answer from Bill,
we don't know.
We have no idea. We have no idea.
Not to disparage anybody who is a wind engineer, and I'm not sure how much of our television audience actually has that degree, but I've been told multiple times across baseball that they'll have wind studies done when ballparks are built, but when it comes out at the end, it's not always as they thought it would be, and there's always factors that come into play that make it maybe not in line with their projections, so they kind of stopped doing them.
Slowly hit to second. Darwin Barney makes the play. No worries there in that first inning for Nate Schierholtz in right. Here for the second inning. Let's check in with Jim Hayes for the first time tonight. First of all, Jim, you were exceptional on the pregame show as always, and secondly, Michael Wacha, what happens after this start here with the big league club?
Yeah, I think a lot of fans are wondering. It all hinges on how Michael Wacha pitches. But I talked to a couple of guys in the front office, and they say the plan as it stands is this. Wacha will stay up with the big club after this start. If he pitches well, they'll put him in the bullpen. They plan to use him in some high leverage situations out of the pen. They want to keep his arm live, and they want to keep him sharp. And he will be on call if the chance arises that they need him in the starting rotation.
Out to deep left. Holiday leaps. It's 1-0 Chicago. Wellington Castillo with his 4th home run and his 20th RBI. A home run allowed by Wacha. Chicago on top 1-0 here in the top of the 2nd.
Our Plaza Tire Service pitch location, middle in, and Castillo gives it a ride. How close for Holiday? That close. The untapped power potential in some ways of Wellington Castillo. The Cubs folks, Dan, believe that he's a guy that can hit 20, 25 home runs a season. He has not done it yet, but they believe he is as powerful as anybody on their roster.
And he's kept his switch hitting catcher on the bench, Dioner Navarro, who's been used primarily as a pinch hitter. Now let's go back to what Jim was talking about. Nate Shearholtz at the plate. Michael Wacha, what happens after this start? Could be used in the bullpen, as Jim alluded to that point. Time will tell. You never know what happens with injuries. You never want to get ahead of this game right here. However, there's a strikeout of Shearholtz, number 2 on the night for Wacha. It looks like, if all goes to plan, Michael Wacha goes to the bullpen. Our broadcast is on AFN, the American Forces Network, broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces, serving in 175 countries and aboard ships at sea. Watching around the world in Iraq, Germany, Italy, Southwest Asia, South Korea, and Japan. Welcome to our telecast tonight. Thank you for what you do. So it seems that the bullpen, Rick, would be the immediate future.
Well, from what I've seen from Wacha in terms of his potential, if he's able to go out in this game and pitch 7 or 8 innings and let's just say theoretically gives up 1 run on that home run that we just saw and wins this game and pitches like we've seen him pitch in spring training in the first couple of starts in the big leagues, I'd be real hesitant to just make the decision that rashly to throw him back out into the bullpen. I think at this point the Cardinals need consistent starting pitching. They've been good this season, but most of the good came early on, and trying to get back on track again, you kind of go with the hot hand. And if his hand is hot, and I'm not sure it will be, but if he again goes 7 innings today and gives up 1 run, how can you not throw him out there again?
1 out, nobody on, and a 2-2 pitch. That pitch at 96 from Wacha. I think from the Cardinals' point of view, you just had a young man that turned 22 on the 1st of July, and so devil's advocate would be, well, this is the future. This is the franchise. This is our top draft choice from a year ago. Let's be very cautious with those innings as Castro picks up the base hit on a 2-2 pitch. Not many starts from Michael Wacha from the last time that we saw him when he went down to the minor leagues. It wasn't like he was pitching every 5th day.
He has 103 total innings from AAA and the big leagues combined.
Not many.
No. They've been working him every 6th day instead of in a 5-man rotation to give him that extra time. And I agree with what you're saying, Dan. Overall, you need to be careful with his innings. You just wonder what the right time might be.
Cody Ransom batting .201 and looks at a strike. I mentioned I had a conversation with Red Shandies, Hall of Famer, yesterday. I said, Red, what was the toughest pitch as a hitter? Was it a curveball, a slider, a good fastball? For you, how tough was it? He said, I didn't worry about any of those pitches. He said, my toughest pitch to face was the one that the pitcher could locate. He said, we all have the hot zone and the cool zone, and if a pitcher can locate that pitch, whatever it may be, to that cool zone, he wins that battle. So he said, I really didn't concern myself with what the other guy had. I did concern myself with his location.
That's a great comment.
0-2 pitch. Tardy with the swing and just got a piece. Got him, and a strikeout. A pitch that was elevated at 95, and that fastball has been tough to catch up with here for the Chicago Cubs early on. That's 3 for Michael Wacha.
We're talking about him pitching down in the zone, and he's gotten 2 strikeouts up in the zone. There's times to try to get hitters to chase, and I think when we're talking about being careful about being up in the zone, that's belt high to letter high. There are times where you can go attack above the strike zone, and hitters aren't going to hit that pitch. But the one they do hit is the one that's belt high. That's up from a pitcher's point of view.
The other thing I really like about watching Wacha, his pace. Cardinals have had, and we've talked a lot about Lynn, but the pace of these games has been very slow. And a lot of that is due to the fact of how a pitcher dictates the pace himself. Runners on will slow you down a bit. But Michael Wacha is a guy that gets the ball and goes. Shows confidence. The Cardinals really like that about him as well. So many little things they look at along the way. And it was talked about when they drafted him. The great arm, the size, the makeup. There was a scout at every one of his starts last year at Texas A&M. And at one point there was 4 for a couple of starts. But also the way he carries himself as far as the pace of play.
So every time I hear a comment like that, Dan, it makes me think about his minor league coaches and even his college coaches to a degree, helping him develop that. I mean, it's Wacha ultimately that's determining his pace, but I'm sure he's had some Cardinal minor league guys say, hey, let's go. Here's what we need out of you. This is where you're better. So there's some coaching and teaching that's a part of that deserves part of that credit.
Beltran over to make the catch. Wellington Castillo on a 2-0 pitch delivers his 4th home run. Also delivers an early Cubs lead. with the Cardinals canvas printed courtesy of Coke Zero. So get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions for your canvas print.
By the way, Dan, we are in our man cave right here at Busch. This is our man cave.
Really?
Sure.
And we've got a shot of Tom Mead, our director.
So let's see if we can get one of those canvas prints and put it right over Tom's photo, and we'll be hooked up.
Well, he spends so much time up here.
It's our cave. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, you and I will spend hours in the truck, but yet Tom won't come up here to say hi.
What do you do in a man cave? You watch Cardinal baseball, right?
Yep.
That's what we're doing night after night.
As Holiday hits it on the ground to third, they were playing awfully deep on the left side of the infield, and there's one away. Can you believe they actually pay us to do this, too? Incredible. Highway robbery. One out, and it brings in David Freese. The difference makers in the month of August for St. Louis, BJC Healthcare difference makers. One of those steps in right now, David Freese, with an average of 400. 2, 5, and 6 in the Cardinals lineup. And Cardinals have a number of players from top to bottom who hit Villanueva well. That does not include David Freese, who's just 1 for 6 against Carlos, but 5 Cardinal players batting .380 or better against Villanueva. Not a lot of sample size, but should be the kind of night where the offense could erupt. And they've been looking for that to happen. Have they ever? 1-1 pitch to Freese. Up the middle. And a base hit. Past the diving Darwin Barney. He's playing near the bag at second base and almost came up with a tremendous play. So the Cardinals have their first hit.
Well hit by Freese. Had a little top spin on it, so it just kept working its way through the infield at a quick pace. And Barney, who has very sure hands, wasn't able to come up with it.
John Jay, a .324 hitter against Chicago in his career.
Dan, just think for a moment about the anatomy of scoring a run when you don't do it via the home run. Okay, here's what happens. Somebody gets on base. Somebody else has to get that person in the scoring position, and then somebody's got to drive them in. That middle hit, that middle thing, which also could be the player stealing a base, it could be a sacrifice, it could be a hit and run. But in the Cardinals' case, it's typically a hit that's moving them first to third. I think that's what we haven't seen much of lately against some of the better pitching that the Cardinals have gone up against. Is that it's that middle hit. John Jay gets a base hit now, first and third. This inning has an entirely different feel. John Jay may not get a number for that, but it would be a key part of this inning.
2 balls and 1 strike. Cardinals come into play having dropped 4 of their last 5. In those games, the offense awfully quiet. 7 runs. So the question becomes, Rick, and you've seen teams that have done this. You've been a part of teams that have been through tough stretches of baseball. What does Mike Matheny do? How do you jumpstart the offense?
Well, you have to do, as Mike says every day when he does his little scrum with the reporters.
Runner goes, and a throw down to second. Freese is out. That's one way to try to get your offense jump started. And unfortunately, Jay couldn't put it in play.
Hit and run, you're right, is an option. But what Mike says every day is we just have to stay the course. The hit and run doesn't work, not David Freese's fault. So he's caught stealing. But, you know, from the player's point of view, they're about performance. And the performance leads to wins, they hope, if they perform at their best. So they have to ready themselves to perform at the highest. And if you're only thinking about the results and not the performance, you're probably a step ahead of the game. Stay the course, Keep working. It'll happen.
Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by your neighborhood hometown grocer, Schnucks. And the Cardinals, Fox Sports, and the state of Missouri teaming up to help you stop smoking. For more information, call the Quit line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW. And away we go here in the third inning. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you. Jim Hayes. Carlos Villanueva looks at a low strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. De Jesus to follow, and Junior Lake.
Noticing exactly what you're talking about, Waka. The minute he delivers the pitch, the result happens. He gets right back up on the rubber, takes the throw from the catcher, and starts thinking about the next pitch. He's not rushing, but he's working at a good pace. There's not a lot of walking around, not a lot of overthinking. Get over and go.
Taking a little bit low. Fine line of working quickly, but then also working too fast.
Yeah, you don't want to rush. And if things aren't going well, there's a time to kind of step back and start all over again.
This could be trouble. And oh, what a play. Nicely done by Matt Carpenter. The second baseman running that down.
2 breaks on that play for Michael Waka. First of all, he swings at ball 4. Pitch up in the zone. Secondly, he's got a second baseman that's got a little bit of range. Matt Carpenter running it down a long way from his second base position. Very nice play.
San Diego leading Cincinnati. Sangrani made that start. Reds committed 2 errors in the first inning, one by Xavier Paul. And Hanahan, making a start at third, committed the other error. Pittsburgh and Colorado tonight. A.J. Burnett making that start for the Pirates. Max Leinwand, our outstanding pre- and post-game show producer, said now this has been a stat that's been kept since 1987. Basically, the pace of games and the final time of the game, and we have had 10 consecutive games in which we've been 3 hours or more, which is the most in Cardinals history since they've kept that stat. 10 consecutive 3-hour games. And while I love being at the ballpark, I bring that up, and time of game really doesn't bother me. Pace of play does.
Yeah, there's a difference. And that's what we're talking about with Waka. He's just got a good pace. There's not a lot of walking around. I think really for performance reasons for a pitcher. I always liken it to you're throwing darts at a dartboard. If you were doing that and you threw a dart at the dartboard and you missed the bullseye, would you walk around the room, come back and throw another one? Or would you want to know, okay, I just threw that one there. I want to stand in the same spot, make a little adjustment so I can kind of get it more towards the center. So there's actually a physical reason and a focus reason to want to work quickly and not walk around the mound.
Well, we saw Skip Schumacher this past week. I know you were excited about his ritual between every pitches of every at bat. All those pitches he sees, he'll step out, messes with the batting gloves.
Not the first to do it.
No, sir. Mike Hargrove, the human regulator.
I remember Mike. Yeah, he was ahead of his time, wasn't he?
He was. De Jesus stepping out between pitches, maybe by design. They see what we see, which is a pitcher working very quickly. You break up that pace. First walk issued by Waka. MLB.TV celebrating 11 years. Catch the rest of the season in HD quality. MLB.TV, where baseball is everywhere. Here's Junior Lake, grounded out to short. First time up. Pitch number 44 from Waka.
Heard Mike Shannon talk about the rule, and I just can't remember when it actually changed, but there was a time where you could not leave the batter's box. You could take 1 foot out of the box, but not the other foot. And you had to kind of just maintain a presence at the plate or ask the umpire if you could step away. The pitcher could deliver the ball and the pitch would count. And I'm not sure what year they changed that, but most hitters now, after every pitch, will step out of the box. And Mike is thinking about stepping out of the booth, it looks like.
Working with Mike Claiborne. There's Red Shandies at the top left-hand portion of your screen. Pop Warner is the manager at Memphis, has talked about Waka with the major league staff and said, don't worry so much about trying to control the running game with him. He's a very cerebral kid, very bright, understands the game. And he said, while with many in the minor leagues, you have to dictate just about every move with them, even to the point of calling some of the pitches. Not so with Michael Waka. Good movement there. 3 seasons at Texas A&M and nearly 350 innings of work. But as you mentioned, not much of a workload this season, and that's by design.
If a pitcher can control the running game himself, that's better. Most managers, long conversations with Tony La Russa about this. He believes, along with most of his managers at the time, and certainly current managers, that the pitchers can't do that well enough for their satisfaction, and they feel like they have to control it. But if the pitcher can do it, he's got a better feel because he sees things that the manager can't see. Looking into the eyes of the base runner, seeing his maybe something slightly different that he's doing when he's leading off the base that might warrant a pickoff move.
Three and two. Junior Lake at the plate. De Jesus, their leadoff man at first. They start the runner. Pitch is taken for a ball. Boy, oh boy. Looked awfully good. It's called a ball. So back-to-back walks. And Michael Waka asking for trouble here. Boy, did that pitch look good.
Johnson wanted it. He was trying to stay down as long as he could to give Vanover a look at it. Stays down, stays down. There's the pitch. It's a strike. And he throws a strike to second base. So that's not just a one-out problem with that call. It would have been a double play. Throw got there in plenty of time to beat DeJesus.
And a strike to Rizzo.
One of the things you always wonder about that is, did the catcher raise up enough to get in the umpire's way? But Johnson did exactly what you should do. He stayed low, made sure it was a strike first, or at least he framed it first, and then made the throw from his knees. Just didn't get the call.
Another fastball at 93. Struck out Rizzo with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball back in the first. Rob Johnson, by the way, has compared Michael Wacha to Matt Harvey. He caught Harvey last year with the Mets and said Michael Wacha in many ways is like Matt Harvey. Pretty high praise,
I'll say.
Matt Harvey starting for the National League in the All-Star game this year at Citi Field. .188 with runners in scoring position, but the key base hit last night. Got a shot in the pregame show if you missed it tonight. Yadier Molina throwing from behind the plate, and his return is awfully close.
Watched him take batting practice too. The 15th of August is what we're expecting for the return for Yadier Molina, and sure looked good in the cage today.
Pulled foul. Got away with that pitch. That was up.
Rizzo does have 65 RBIs on the season, but there are folks in the Cubs camp that believe that he hasn't been as good as he can be with runners in scoring position. Not driving the ball as much, not enough extra base hits in those situations.
Rizzo, a ground ball. Carpenter, only play to go to first. Fox Sports 1 is coming, and the Fox Sports girls are on a cross-country road trip to celebrate. 13 girls from around the country, and Cletus the Robot will be at the outfield at Mike Shannon's tomorrow at 11 a.m. Meet the girls and Cletus tomorrow. Follow their journey on foxsports.com/road to launch. Here's Castillo. Homered his first time up. Fastball and a strike. Where you heard the dugout, the Cardinals frustrated with the call on Matt Carpenter, then not getting the call on the walk, the 3-2 pitch to Junior Lake. You just ask for consistency. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pitch count already at 58. Now 59. Pitch count by inning, and a long third for Wacha. Gave up a home run in the second.
Last 17 innings in the minor leagues, Wacha had 1 walk in 3 starts. And he has 3 in this inning.
Well, you want some good news? Here it is. Molina behind the plate. That's Jamie Pogue. bullpen catcher and coach for the Cardinals, working out Yachty. So there's something positive for you, Horton.
I like it. Well, we all need a little positive news here, don't we? And what better than to think about the expectation of Yadier Molina's return in so many ways, just his attitude, his presence, what he does with the bat. Of course, you're going to add that. He's having just an outstanding season, top 2 or 3 in the National League in hitting all summer long. And then you add what he does for the pitching staff, which I think is equally important. And his presence is hard to fill. Tony Cruz has been good, no question about it. But there's only one Yachty at this point in baseball.
Nate Shearholtz in the dirt and kept in front by Johnson. You wonder if Wacha is just getting a little unnerved here in this 3rd inning.
Doesn't look sharp. Mentioned those last 3 starts in AAA, 21 strikeouts, 1 walk. And yet he has thrown a number of pitches here in the 3rd inning. Just needs to get out of it.
2-0. If you're Mike Matheny, you always get concerned about a young guy getting buried too, where it snowballs on him. And right now he's two pitches away from walking 4 in the 3rd inning.
And he's 1 pitch away from sitting in the dugout if he makes the right one. The fortunes of baseball. Mike Matheny has to plan for both.
Two balls, 1 strike.
You can almost hear Cub fans screaming, why is he swinging at a 2-0 pitch? You want to know the answer? Simplest answer? This is the big leagues. You're supposed to. You have to. That's the pitch you can drive. That's the pitch that could be a game changer.
1 pitch, and then you get out of it. He gets out of it. 1-0 Chicago midway through 3.
Breathe, everybody. Woo. You too. Thank you.
We look at Michael Wacha this season overall. I can't even look at that graphic because of Phantom Cam that's carried over. But go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers on it. But early on, he had a lot more walks, 15 walks in his first 9 starts. And then when he came to St. Louis, just 4 walks. You wonder whether that was maybe the presence of Adam Wainwright and some of the guys at the time were just strike, 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 strike. the walk total went down. So then when he returned to Memphis, you notice that strikeout walk ratio just 39, or in 39 strikeouts, just 4 walks. But tonight he's kind of reverted back to missing the zone a bit more. He's got 3 walks already. All of them came in that 3rd inning. I think the good news is he got out of it and maybe can regroup and go back out there and be a strike thrower.
Now, he has not lost any hope. That young man right there, he was clapping. He's ready to go.
He's happy he's in the sun field.
He's pumped.
He doesn't care.
No.
Didn't even bring his shades.
A strike to Rob Johnson. He's saying, let's go, everybody.
Oh, I like it. Yes. Yes. Clapping hard.
What a great shot.
That is awesome.
Cute kid.
Oh, my.
And Johnson hits it in the air out to left. Junior Lake, converted infielder, makes the play. See, I wasn't talking about all the numbers on that graphic. I could follow that perfectly. It was Phantom Cam.
I know. We love our Phantom Cam.
Even after the baseballs disappeared off the screen, you could see the dirt still jumping around with Phantom Cam. Was mesmerized. As were you. So just admit it and go along with it.
I'm dreaming of the day when we can see a Phantom Cam shot of you making a home run call.
No.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Everybody in the dugout agrees. Shish boom ba on Phantom Cam.
Well, you know, you haven't had a lot of home run calls here lately.
Tough going. 1-1 pitch to Descalso. Good breaking ball. Strike 2.
Ice Sox Saturday.
And a strikeout of Descalso. So that's 4 strikeouts for Carlos Villanueva. Twitter poll, which player will end up with the most career wins? Good question here. Miller, Waka, Kelly, Martinez, AT&T Twitter poll.
Huh.
Bottom line is the future is pretty bright.
Sure is. But the fact that the Cardinals can have 4 guys on that kind of a question where it makes sense to vote for all 4. I mean, you could reasonably make an argument for all 4.
My guess will be that fans will say Shelby. He's had tremendous success this year. Joe Kelly arguably is your best pitcher right now. That's off the end of the bat. And
I don't know, Dan.
Catch made.
I could see people saying Michael Waka just as easily, and frankly, Carlos Martinez. I can't wait. And there's your Phantom Cam.
I am mesmerized. And there's our biggest cheerleader right now. Get him going out there. Great shot. Love it. Mizzou Night, Cardinals.com/theme. Mizzou Night. And fans with the special Mizzou ticket take home a limited edition Cardinals cap. Go to Cardinals.com/theme. Young fans have made their way to the ballpark, and school not too far away. Starlin Castro at the plate, looks at a strike, and we're underway here in the fourth.
Is it cute kid night at the ballpark or something? We've had some great shots.
Nothing beats, though, that little guy leading the cheers. You were worn out watching him.
I was.
One pitch to Starlin Castro.
Adorable.
You showed me a shot. I've been thinking about it lately. Great picture that you have kept on your phone.
Yep.
You're playing for the Dodgers, and at the time, your now 26-year-old daughter.
Yep.
And you figured she was probably 3 or 4 in that photo.
Yes. All-time favorite photo.
Great shot.
Walking along the infield grass. She's wearing my Dodger hat.
Is that spring training?
It's in spring training. And it's my favorite photo.
The 2-2 is hit to short. Descalso makes the play. Starlin Castro is 1 for 2.
Sometimes it's helpful to think about the game of baseball through the eyes of one of the young people here at the ballpark tonight who are just enjoying being here. I think, you know, surely we want our team to win and to play well, and it gets frustrating when things don't go well, but you still have to remember that this is a enjoyable experience. It's fun to be at the ballpark. It's a celebration of family and the game that you love, and you know, win or lose, it's a nice place to spend a night or an afternoon.
Beltran comes up just a bit short. Ransom on his way to third, and he's in there with a triple. Carlos was playing fairly deep for Cody Ransom, who struck out swinging first time up. Good effort. Drops in fair. It's a triple. Got a long way to go.
He sure did. Not well hit, but well placed. Carlos gave it a great effort. Again, he'd been dragging for a couple days and had to have an off day just off the end of the bat, and ends up being a triple. Now the Cardinals have to play the infield in.
Darwin Barney flied out to right. Just wondering how deep Carlos was playing for Cody Ransom. Very long way to go.
Not just deep, but how much was he playing him to pull in the right center field gap?
Saw Barney take a little peek down at David Freese.
Also have to say the sun not really a factor right now. It certainly was the first couple of innings of this game, but not an issue now.
Barney is hitting .213 with runners in scoring position overall at .212. The 1-1 is hit out of play. We've seen Waka have the ability to get a strikeout, certainly with the bottom portion of this order. He's recorded 3 strikeouts tonight. He's walked 3 and has allowed 3 base hits. One of those a home run by Wellington Castillo on a 2-0 pitch back in the second.
So pitcher and catcher get together here and think, what can I get a swing and miss on number 1? But if I miss with it, what's going to stay in the infield? What pitch selection? So you've got to think about that plan B. If you think, okay, well, I'll throw a changeup because I can get a swing and miss, but if I get it up in the zone, that's going to be a good pitch they can drive to the outfield. Well, maybe that's not the best choice. So what with Michael Wacha's stuff today at this moment is most likely to yield a ball staying in the infield should be the choice.
You surprised at all to see the infield in this early with the Cardinals trailing against, you would think on paper, a guy that they can get to and score runs against in Villanueva, but I guess the way the offense has been going, Mike Matheny's saying, look, we've got to play this very close.
I don't mind the infield in because I also think Wacha could pitch out of anything that might happen because the infield's in.
Johnson near the screen with a play. Big out. Michael Wacha covering the plate. And there's 2 away.
Set up outside, the ball inside. Positive result. And some coaching going on, making sure they're checking to be sure the runner doesn't score.
Took a very good play by Matt Carpenter to take it away from Villanueva. First time up, showing his range on a pop-up.
You know, it's something that, you know, coaching my son and being around coaching young kids, one of the things they teach you, it's actually something you're taught in the minor leagues too. Anytime the ball is in foul territory, always tag up if you're a base runner. Always. Because the point is, you can't go unless the ball is caught. Don't assume that you're not going to be able to maybe score. So the runner at third base there, even though the ball was behind home plate, you think, well, that's second out. I can't tag up there. Well, if he tags up, the pitcher forgets the cover, the catcher falls down, the third baseman, I mean, he might score. So always tag up on a foul ball.
The strikeout number 4 is Wacha. Pitches out of a jam. The top of the lineup. Let's get something going. Matt Carpenter leads it off when we come back. Pirates in town next week. All important series against Pittsburgh. Cardinals.com/McDonald's to receive $8 tickets. Cardinals will pack the house that night and then later in the month against Cincinnati. So nicely done by Michael Wacha to pitch out of the jam. The Cardinals start play 4 games back of Pittsburgh. How about the Pirates? They're not going anywhere. 70-45. Cincinnati 2 back of St. Louis.
Well, that's the other disconcerting part, is that Cincinnati is just a couple games away right now. The Cardinals had a 4 to 6 game lead on them for a long period of time, and the Reds are not exactly playing great baseball right now either, but their pitching staff's pretty good, and they've got decent offense. They play well at home. So this race is going to be fun over the last 46, 47 games of the season the Cardinals have left. And again, I say the guy at the plate, the key to their fortunes offensively.
He was called out on strikes first time up. Villanueva first time through the lineup struck out 4. And Carpenter looks at a strike. Underway in the home half of the 4th. That's up the middle and a base hit. just the second Cardinals hit. The other from David Freese, also up the middle. So here you go, Rick. The catalyst is aboard.
I'm not a betting man, but I think this is going to be a good Cardinal inning because of this. Line drive up the middle. Carpenter aboard. Now you deal with the power and the sweet swing of Carlos Beltran, and we've seen so many innings develop just like this season. But it all starts with Carpenter aboard at first.
The shift is on here for Beltran. Outfield deep. And he hits it off the end of the bat into shallow center field. And is it a catch? No. A trap. And a base hit for Beltran. The first two are aboard, and in steps Craig. Take it a step further, Rick. I think it could be a big inning because of what Michael Wacha did. Pitching out of that jam, little momentum shift in the game.
Agreed.
And the top of the lineup now producing here for St. Louis.
Nice effort by DeJesus, and he does indeed trap it very close. Tried to sell it. And this puts Matt Carpenter in a tough place. He's got to hear the call, and he actually looks at the umpire just to see what call he made. He can't assume that the umpire made the right call either. He can't watch it and then react. He has to know what the call is to dictate whether he continues or not. So he had a tough decision to make, but it worked out for St. Louis. Now you've got your crisp guy at the plate.
468 runners in scoring position, tops in baseball.
Not very catchy, but can we start calling him Mr. Risp?
Sure.
Kind of hard to say, though.
I like the RBI machine.
Better than Mr. Risp?
It just kind of rolls a little easier. And Mr. Risp are trying to, runner,
The Risp Meister?
Yeah. No, that's not going to work either. You just worry about calling the game, Horton.
You're so old school.
I am. What can I say? Here's the 0-1 pitch. In the air out to center field. Catch will be made. Carpenter tags up. Beltran did tag up. It stays put at first. Productive out from Alan Craig. Runners at the corners now with one down. One of those balls that we were talking about earlier that you think you get pretty good distance on it. Stays in the ballpark. Here is Holiday, 354 with runners in scoring position. Make a case he's swinging the bat better than anybody else right now.
Hit the ball harder, swinging the bat better. And I agree with you on that fly ball by Alan Craig. He hit that ball well. And if that had gone out last summer, I wouldn't go that far. But maybe. I mean, the ball just does not seem to be carrying this year.
One out, runners at the corners for Holiday. And he looks at a strike.
Can't believe you don't like the Risp Meister.
I don't. But coming from you, it explains a lot. The geek might. No, I don't.
You better not.
I better duck again. Usually I have to duck with the other guy in here. One ball, one strike.
Notice how teams really like to pound Matt Holiday inside. They like to pitch him, especially up and in. He's a good low ball hitter. And they just don't want him to get his arms extended because they know how strong he is and how well he hits the ball the other way. The problem is if you try to live in there, there are times where you make a mistake. Can't stay one way with it. Going back in again.
Here's a 1-1. Holiday hits it out to deep left. It is gone. The Cardinals on top thanks to Matt Holiday, and one swing of the bat. It's 3-1.
So Matt Carpenter sets the table, and the Cubs try to go inside one too many times on Matt Holiday.
Here you go, Dave.
RBIs 55, 56, and 57 as Freese pulls it foul. "14 home runs for Holiday." He doesn't hit those high towering shots. It's the line shots off his bat.
Trying to pitch Holiday in. Doesn't get in enough. Patented Matt Holiday swing, and another one over 100 miles an hour.
Little check swing by Freese. Grounds out to Villanueva. 2 outs, and it brings in Jay. Holiday, whether he wanted to be on the DL or not, by all accounts, he said that he could have played through the injury that he suffered against Chicago. Remember, at the All-Star break, the series right before it with the hamstring. Looking at it right now, it's been a good thing. He's come back fresh, swinging a hot bat. He and his wife were able to enjoy the birth of their newest child together, which always seems to be pretty tough for a Major League Baseball player in season.
Sure does.
So things have settled down just a bit in his life in that regard. And it's added up to a left fielder that's putting up numbers again. 2 balls and no strikes here on John Jay. If you missed it in the our little pregame right after the real pregame, if you will, in the 15 minutes between 7 and 7:15, or in this case 6 and 6:15, that we try to show different aspects of the club. And John Jay working with some of the kids, part of the Cardinals baseball league that they have through Cardinals Cares. He lines out to Rizzo. Matt Holiday, the slugger, puts the Cardinals on top. The blink of an eye. is a serious number as their walk-up song. Now, after the season, you can make sure that 6 stays a serious number. Keep texting the word 6 to 55155. You'll get great deals even after the season ends. Mobile on the run. Holiday has made it a 3-1 St. Louis lead. And the first pitch, a changeup. Michael Wacha to David DeJesus, top of the lineup. DeJesus, Lake, and Rizzo.
Important inning for Wacha to keep the pitch count low, be able to get deeper into this game, settle into this Cardinal lead.
Pittsburgh and Colorado in a rain delay. And at last check, San Diego leading Cincinnati. That's hit out of play. That was a 2-1 game early on. The 2-2 pitch that was up. Jay makes the catch. Playing fairly shallow, puts it away. You could try the new Egg White Delight McMuffin. Only 250 calories and only at McDonald's.
Guess I'm harping on it, Dan, but that ball hit there died in center field also. I mean, I thought that was hit fairly well, and it just is not carrying. There's really no breeze here at the ballpark. There sure are a lot of cute kids here today.
Here's Junior Lake. And one of those kids is Mikey T, who's watching our game tonight at Rankin Jordan Hospital. Those that take care of those children, unbelievable people. Rankin Jordan, one of the great places in our town. Base hit for Junior Lake. Well, get ready. Rick actually is on the website right now looking at where the girls are at. Fox Sports 1. The Fox girls are traveling across the country promoting the launch of Fox Sports 1. They'll be here tomorrow. And the network will launch in 7 days. Where are they, Rick?
They're in Houston, Texas, on their way to St. Louis. Kentucky the next day, and I don't want to divulge the rest of it without folks tuning in themselves.
Anthony Rizzo, strike one. One out and a runner at first.
Headed towards the launch on August 17th. Fox Sports 1.
They asked you to be a football analyst on any of their shows?
They have not. I have limited knowledge of that sport, and don't say what you want to say in response to that. Go ahead.
I think your knowledge is outstanding in this sport. Synchronized swimming, I think you're great too. Eddie George and Joey Harrington will be part of the college football scene.
Looking forward to it, though.
Here's the 0-2. Hits his spot just a little bit low. The 2-2. That pitch was up, driven into right. Tell you what, Junior Lake can run.
Sure can.
He was flying around second base, and a single for Rizzo. Runners at the corners with one down.
So the hope for simple inning is nothing but as a couple of one-out base hits. It's Junior Lake first. He's aboard. Now he's flying to third. Anthony Rizzo gets a pitch up in the zone. Tried to go in and up, but Rizzo was able to get the bat head out quickly enough. That's his first hit, and some more trouble for Waka.
There's a liner out to left, and making the catch, Holiday. Rizzo has to hustle back to the bag at first. Run does score. That's Junior Lake. That makes it 3-2. The RBI by Castillo. He's driven in both for the Cubs.
Cubs centering the ball pretty well against Waka here today, and he's missing his spots. Supposed to be away. It was down and in. And I would guess this will be his last inning.
Due up third for the Cardinals. Try to get him through 5 and have a chance to win this game.
I just don't think he's sharp enough to say that you'd like to send him back out there and maybe get into more trouble next inning. I think it's at the point now where you're thinking, what's the best opportunity to win this game, and might be by having Seth Maness come in.
Thinking about the way that Mike used his bullpen last night. Not saying you're desperate for a win, but
yeah, desperate.
The leeway with Michael Waka is going to be awfully tight with that leash.
A word, something softer than desperate. Anxious, hopeful,
anxious.
Really wanting. I don't know what the word would be.
And misses outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. I'm sure Michael Waka is finding out that some of these walks down in the minor leagues, it's hitters that chase those
pitches.
Will
chase. That's exactly right.
The 2-1 pitch with the outfield straightaway taken high. Just trying to get him through near the top of the 5th. Pitch count at 98. I'm with you. Undoubtedly, in my mind, this is his last inning of work. In the air, out to deep right. Beltran is there, puts it away. So Michael Waka through 5, and St. Louis has a lead of 3-2. Hotel. Only hotels that give you home field advantage and an extraordinary Cardinals baseball experience. For reservations and info, call 314-421-1776 or visit HiltonSt.Louis.com. And apparently that kid was born in the bottom of the second. And still, you can enjoy Cardinal baseball no matter how old you are.
Why not? Start him out right.
Here's Johnson, and he looks at a ball. 3-2 Cardinals. Here's a 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's Johnson, Descalso, then Waka's spot. Manus has sat down. We did not see the handshakes from Michael Wacha during the break, so maybe he goes back out there. I think, though, at around that 100 pitch count, it'd be a bit surprising if he did. But you do have the bottom of the lineup coming up for Chicago, 6, 7, and 8.
That would be the one factor to send him back out, but just not sure that they would do that. We'll find out.
Two and two. Rob Johnson's been a good find for the Cardinals in terms of depth at the catcher spot. Cardinals not a ton of depth there because of the fact that you've had Molina, workhorse, best in the game defensively, no doubt. Cardinals did draft a high school catcher last draft, the Wacha draft class, that they feel is exceptional defensively, but years away from being in the big leagues.
Well, you've got the problem of having Yadier Molina at the top of the kind of the food chain, so you don't really see any urgency to draft a catcher. But here's the problem: you're developing pitchers along the way. So think about that.
Yeah, good point.
You don't need a catcher because you have Yadi. You say, okay, well, so what? Well, not only do you need trade pieces by developing catchers, but you also need somebody who's really capable of developing a Carlos Martinez, a Michael Wacha, the draft choices from this year that everybody's so excited about, the left-handed pitcher from New Jersey, and just the young talent that's
a great point.
That might be a couple years away. Well, who's going to help him?
One thing the Cardinals, and we get asked about it all the time, how are the Cardinals doing this? And the answer I would give is consistency among their coaches in the minor leagues. There's a way that they feel the game should be taught, and there's not a lot of turnover with the St. Louis Cardinals, with their coaches. Lake will cut it off, and it's a base hit for Rob Johnson.
And adding a little corollary to that, I do not know or remember a time where there was so much unity between the minor league coaches and the big league coaches, which I also think is important. Our Hyundai replay goes down to get that ball down in the zone and drives it. And I think that unity, Dan, just as important.
So Wacha is moved to the on-deck circle. Manus, it looks like, standing on the mound, ready to throw. I can't see Wacha, whether or not they get a double play here or runner in scoring position that he hits.
Unless you still use Wacha to bunt. Cardinals have a short bench, which we've talked about in this series, going with the extra pitchers. So there's just 4 players on their bench: Cosma, Cruz, Adams, and Chambers, and you're going to be hesitant to use Tony Cruz. So really, why waste him?
4-6-3. Descalso is 0 for 2. So with that short bench, Michael Wacha will hit with 2 down and nobody on. Talk about going out of your way. He certainly did that. And Shane Robinson going out of your way. Remember how the game ended about a month ago?
I do. I think Johnson, maybe with a little stretch, could have said that he could have reached second base from where he was there. Shane certainly couldn't. And the call was made correctly on that particular play that ended a ball game. I find it interesting that Wacha's hitting, and I still think it may have to do with the short bench more than anything else.
Adams, Chambers from the left side, Cosma, Cruz from the right side. Tony Cruz, take him out of the equation, your backup catcher. As Wacha bounces one up the middle. Nice play by Castro to his left. And the Cardinals are through. We played 5. St. Louis on top, 3-2. So with that short bench, Wacha hitting for himself, Seth Maness warming up. Edwin Jackson gets the start against St. Louis. That'll be tomorrow. Budweiser, What's on Tap? And we'll come your way at 12:30. And it's 1:15 with our first pitch. Coverage right here on Fox Sports Midwest. Budweiser, What's on Tap to our Chevy, call to the pen.
Wondering what Edwin Jackson will see tomorrow. Yeah, he can be nasty and he can be hittable. Seth Maness, our Chevy call to the bullpen. What we normally see from him is ground balls. We normally see strikes. A pitcher that works very quickly. And I guess we're not surprised with the high pitch count of Wacha that Mike Matheny goes to Maness here in the 6th inning. And the next 2 innings might be him if all goes well.
So it's up to the bullpen now. Cardinals have had 5 rookies make starts this year. Miller, Lyons, Wacha, Gast, and Carlos Martinez this past week. And another rookie in from the bullpen, Seth Maness. Most combined starts by rookies in the major leagues this year for a team that looks to be heading to postseason play. Pretty impressive.
Not sure it was the design right out of spring training, but this Cardinal staff has morphed into one of the youngest staffs in all of baseball. At the time going into spring training, you thought, well, maybe we'll have Jaime Garcia, who's not exactly old, but you'd also thought you might have a shot at having Chris Carpenter. And all of a sudden, you're looking at a bunch of guys under 25 years of age, and we stopped including Lance Lynn in the list of young pitchers. And he's only 26. So whether it's by design or not, it's certainly had its high points, and it'll be tested the next 6 weeks. Oh boy.
Leadoff hit, Starlin Castro. So a 2-hit night for Castro. Average age, think about the starters in St. Louis, about as good as it gets. 27.2. The Marlins, after retooling and all the trades that they made, there's a lot of high hopes clearly for Miami. Now, they don't score a lot of runs, but Jacob Turner, Fernandez, some of the others that they feature, very, very good.
Indians having a decent year on that list, and the Atlanta Braves, the hottest team in all of baseball, also with a young starting staff. The Braves have won 14 straight.
This guy is unbelievable. Why not? It's another double play. Seth Maness. He is something else. Such a weapon out of the pen, Seth Maness. Most grounded into double plays induced by a Cardinals reliever since '84. Remember, Maness got a late jump on things too.
Exactly.
Wasn't with the club. Bruce Sutter with that split finger. Then you had Julian Tavares, who had a nasty sinker, threw hard, and a nasty disposition too. But he was fun to be around. You ever get a chance to be around him much?
I coached him when I was with the Indians. He was 19 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And really didn't speak English very well at the time. And I'm going to just call him a piece of work. I loved it. He was a piece of work. Never a dull moment.
Nope, not at all. Good work, Seth Maness. Our AT&T Twitter poll. Which player will end up with the most career wins? Shelby Miller at 46%.
A little surprised Carlos Martinez at just 8%. I thought maybe there would be kind of an even spread between the four. Carlos did not have his best outing here the other night in a spot start for him, and yet a lot of promise with that fastball, 98, 99 miles an hour. Could be that some Cardinal fans may think that bullpen is his future.
The player I'd put in that category is a guy that we don't talk about as a potential starter, and I love him where he's at, and that's Segrist, the lefty. Hard to find lefty starters across Major League Baseball. And then you start thinking, okay, when guys are pitchers and those lefties, and Segrist is throwing now, a lot of times you're that guy right there in the background, Randy Choate. You're that situational lefty, where Segrist is beyond that, where he's getting lefties and righties out.
Well, what about Seth Maness?
Groomed as a starter in the minor leagues. But again, you think about the weapon of when you need two. Valuable. Rosenthal, another one of those guys. Always have that shot of John Mozeliak, and sitting with him is the assistant GM, Michael Gersh. You talk about a bright guy. There's Michael Gersh there on the left, Mo on the right. University of Notre Dame, University of Chicago, School of Business, and was working doing analytics situations for companies, and wrote basically what would be a thesis as Carpenter lines it out to left center field. Thinking two, on his way to second, and in there standing up. Another multi-hit game for Carpenter. 45 times he's done that, most in baseball. But the analytical department of the Cardinals is exceptional. Dan Kantrovitz, who runs now the drafts, degree from Brown University. You mix that in with Michael Gersh, but he essentially wrote what would be a thesis to John Mozeliak about different aspects of how to look at the game of baseball. John liked it and said, "We're going to hire you." Here he is as the assistant GM.
Sure is the direction.
Beltran takes a ball. Let's check in with Jim Hayes. Dan, Mike Matheny referenced leg issues when explaining why Carlos Beltran needed a day yesterday. Beltran told me today he's been dealing with tightness in his left hamstring since the Phillies series. He says some days it's tight, some days it's fine. Dan, he's just trying to play through it.
They want his bat, Jim, as you know, in that lineup. And did Mike Matheny or Carlos indicate, let's just say, how many games he might play in a week?
No, they're just watching it closely. And as Carlos told me, you know, there are some days it's not great, but he's going to keep playing. There are certain days Mike Matheny orders him to sit.
The other thing we've noticed, too, Jim, is how far he's playing deep defensively in right field. That might be a byproduct of those sore legs. And that's a fair ball. And it's touched by a fan, a ground rule double. The fan touches the baseball, gets caught, then drops the baseball. At least he didn't drop the kid. And it's a lead now of 2 runs for St. Louis. You're going to drop one or the other. Hold the kid.
Carpenter gets on base. Carpenter scores. Familiar story. Pitch middle of the plate and up. Beltran drives it down the right field line, and we should let fans know that when you do touch a baseball, you're normally escorted to a different seat. So we don't recommend doing that, but we are glad that he held his kid successfully.
And here is Craig now with a runner at second base. Alan Craig flied out to deep center. Back in the 4th with 2 runners on, and also grounded out to second. Highest average with runners in scoring position since 1974. So we're talking about the last 40 years, basically.
So George Brett is really the risk meister.
Cringe when I hear that. Do that with Al.
Oh, you think it would be better? Can you picture Al's reaction? You got to be kidding me, Rick. That's pretty good.
Am I going to have to listen to this all day? The Ripmeisters, the Wristmeister, whatever it is.
You've met him.
Oh, yes. Hungo will be back with us tomorrow.
You bet.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. We've enjoyed the 3-man booths. It's been a lot of fun.
You bet.
And always enjoy being around Hungo.
Again this inning, and we talked about it in our open, Dan, the key to the Cardinals offense, Matt Carpenter getting on base. Leadoff base hit in the 4th inning. Cardinals score 3. Leadoff double in the 6th inning. They've scored already and threatening for more. He is, without a doubt, the catalyst of this Cardinal offense.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. taken inside, 2 balls and 1 strike. Holiday on deck, got things going for St. Louis. 1 swing of the bat and a 3-run shot. That was in the 4th. Here's a 2-1 pitch to Alan Craig.
Talking about Seth Maness maybe being a starter, Dan, and you made the comment, I think rightfully so, that he's such a weapon with a double play. Hey, I like double plays in the 1st inning, 2nd inning, 3rd inning, and 4th inning too. And what he did in the minor leagues as a starter was pretty spectacular. And imagine 7 innings of what we've seen out of Seth Maness. Now, I'm not sure that's going to work or it's going to translate. You don't know until you try it. But I wouldn't discount the thought of him potentially being a starter down the road.
The 2-2. Craig, couple of hops to 3rd, taken there by Ransom. Looks back to runner Beltran. And that's the 1st out. So Craig has come up twice with runners in scoring position and hasn't driven them in. That's hard to believe. So the 3-run homer came on a 1-1 pitch back in the 4th. Good rip and strike 1. Four to 2 St. Louis. Runner at 2nd is Beltran. RBI doubles. He picked up his 62nd RBI of the season. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Taken inside. You talked about it in the previous at bat. Villanueva a couple of times trying to go in on Holiday, and he got burned.
You can go in, you just can't stay in. And when you come in, you better get it in. Trying again. Notice the catcher Castillo not just being inside, but he was off the plate in. And catchers will do that from time to time to exaggerate where they want the pitch just to make sure your sight line is not out over the plate, which is where he got hurt last time. Catchers will try to move as late as possible because they're fearful of the hitter either seeing it or sensing it or even hearing them move.
3-1. And you wonder if Villanueva is saying, look, let's just pitch around Holiday. We've already fallen behind 3-1. Victor Rondon, right-hander, getting loose. They have 1 lefty in their pen. It's James Russell. 6 righties that include Eduardo Sanchez, the former Cardinal, who's out there.
Pitch count decent for Villanueva, and you know the 3-1 count is a bit of a tease for him. You know, he's got the 1 strike, so do you pitch around him? Well, you could say, well, I might get him out, but you're playing with fire if you throw one out over the middle of the plate. And he does try to get him to chase. Really almost an unintentional walk there to Holiday.
First walk issued by the Cubs right-hander. And here is David Freese. Freese a single up the middle, then was caught stealing on a hit and run, and also grounded back to the pitcher. One for 2 on the night. Outfield is straight away for David. Ground ball slowly hit to short. Castro had little trouble getting it out of his glove. Doesn't matter as they get freeze. 6-4-3 on the double play. Holiday going in hard at second base, trying to break it up. Garage or school locker with the Cardinals canvas print courtesy of Coke Zero. Limited edition Cardinals canvas print. 25,000 fans will take that home. That's August 23rd. Cardinals take on the Atlanta Braves, one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest in baseball. And it's a 4-2 lead for St. Louis as we move to the 7th inning. Second inning of work, Seth Maness. Villanueva is out of the ball game. Cole Gillespie will be the pinch hitter. Understanding is that the Cubs did make a move prior to the game. Muscane, their backup and bench player, sent down. Darnell McDonald was called up. 34-year-old that spent basically his entire pro career in the minor leagues.
Pinch hitter here is Cole Gillespie, who was 0 for 4 last night. He started in right field for Chicago. Average under 200.
You talk about breaking up a double play.
Yes.
My goodness, did Holiday just break that up as Maness a little frustrated with the strike zone. 3-0.
Castro was part of the reason that happened, because he had a hard time and a slow time getting the ball out of his glove to deliver it to Barney, and kind of just held him out over the base, and Matt Holliday just slammed it to Barney. They both kind of exchanged pleasantries after Matt picked him up in left field.
On the grass.
On the grass.
Basically in left. AT&T U-verse rewind. And let's get you caught up. Villanueva out of the game. 6 innings, 7 hits, the 4 earned. Waka 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned. And Matt Holliday, a 3-run shot back in the 4th. So with the lefty De Jesus coming up, Mike Matheny will go to his pen. That's it for Maness. Allowed an infield hit. That was erased then on a double play and a ground ball by Barney. Scoreless inning. Leadoff walk. Segrist coming in with a tying run at the plate. Kevin Segrist, our Chevy call to the pen, the .93 ERA. He has faced 34 lefties, and he has 17 strikeouts. They're hitting 118 against him. The righties, by the way, he's faced 29 of those, and they're hitting .069. Wow.
Incredible numbers for Segrist. Just one home run allowed. Gillespie, a leadoff walk, very rare walk by Seth Maness. And it's games like this where you find out just a little bit more about your young pitchers. Cardinals in a game that, boy, they desperately want to win, get back on track. A little more pressure than the games where you're 20 games over 500, 5 games in first place, and the offense is rolling along. This is a tight game that you have to win. You really want to win. And I think you find out about your young guys just a little bit more in this situation. The third level is what do they do potentially in October.
Found out about Trevor Rosenthal.
Sure did.
He was sensational last October. Little bit of a rough start for Segrist right after the All-Star break, but he's picked it back up here in August. This being his 5th appearance of the month. 4 2/3, 1 hit, .067 the average against him. What is it about him, Ricky, that makes him so tough? 2 balls, no strikes.
I think it has a nice, easy delivery, and the ball just explodes out of his hand. The velocity is apparent, but one of those guys that actually it looks like he's even throwing harder than he is. And I put Shelby Miller in that category. There's just a lot of life to his fastball. And we've seen a good changeup from him as well, which is part of the reason you mentioned earlier he could be a starter down the road, has good secondary pitches.
Crowd tonight 43,908, 43,908. Bowen outside, 3-1.
Jim Hayes had the comment from the Cardinal front office that Michael Wacha might be a bullpen guy down the road. It'll be interesting to see what role develops for him. What does that mean? Does it mean the 7th inning? Does it mean that he's a long man? Does it mean he's a 2-inning pitcher? Does it mean he's late in games when the Cardinals need a strikeout?
In the air, right field, near the line, and the catch made by Beltran. It's one of those plays that you would think would be hard on his knees.
Right.
The wall coming there and then having to stop immediately. Not much foul territory. Chevy Fox tracks.
Middle location. Segrist had gotten a 3-ball count on the batter, and he said, hey, hit it. And he did, but fortunately just a bit off on that swing, and Beltran able to make the play down the line. Really looked like a dangerous location to me, and again, that's what good stuff will get you. Every once in a while you get away with mistakes.
Haven't seen his move much because not many reach against him. You see a delivery in which he hides the ball fairly well?
In one sense, yes. In one sense, no. I don't see it like coming out of nowhere hidden like some pitchers do, but I think he's just got such a long delivery that and his arm speed is so quick that it's hard to pick out that slot. I think arm speed can be as deceptive as anything else. A pitcher just kind of shows you the ball, here it is, hit it. But when he's got such a whip that the hitter's really trying to pick the ball right out of the hand of the pitcher. That means you got to slow things down the best you can to see that hand. But his arm speed is so good. How do you see it?
A lot of late swings like that.
Yeah.
Talking with Kevin the other day, he said he was born in Upper New York near Buffalo, not too far away. Not too far away from the Canadian border either. Some chilly winters, and then it was down to Florida. One ball, one strike. .455 for Lake against lefties.
Up near Buffalo, it's a lot of batting practice in gyms as opposed to out on ball fields. It's the benefit of the doubt, and then some on that fastball in.
Just turned 24 back on July 20th. The 1,235th pick overall, 2007. And a fly ball lifted out to center field. Junior Lake retired, and it brings in Rizzo.
Paying a lot of attention to the man at first base. He throws a changeup right in the middle of the plate and may have gotten away with another pitch. And the change of speed certainly helped get that result, but not the location he wanted. And yes, you like him paying attention to the runner at first, but do not let that affect your pitch to the home plate. And I think his arm dragged a bit because he was focusing a little bit too much on the runner at first.
Now it's Rizzo, and a fastball and a strike. Can't tell me right now there's anybody in baseball in the 41st round of maybe the last 5 or 10 drafts with the upside of this guy.
Oh, I agree.
Is there anybody in Major League Baseball from the 41st round?
Wasn't Keith Hernandez a 42nd round choice?
I always think of Piazza being one of the final guys.
I believe he was taken in the 50s. And I think that was just really just a favor that Tommy Lasorda did because he was his godson.
Coming into play this year, lefties in the minor leagues hit only .215 against him. They've talked about the added velocity that they've seen as he's grown into his body. Mechanics have been better, but really started to make quite the impression second half of 2010. Then in 2011 he was on the map, and last season Palm Beach 6-0, 10 games, and then Springfield. Now we see him in the big leagues. The 2-1 pitch.
I think one of the hardest things on a pitcher's arm potentially is going back and forth from being a starter and a reliever. So I think when you're talking about moving Michael Wacha to the bullpen or starting a Segrist or what Joe Kelly's doing, I think there has to be some care, because in that transition there are really two different kinds of ways you get ready to pitch that can be counterproductive.
Popped up. David Freese, the Cardinal third baseman, takes it. Segrist comes in 1-2-3 after a leadoff walk allowed by Seth Maness. Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Blake Parker from Fayetteville, Arkansas. 28-year-old takes over. Big guy, 6'3", 230 pounds. Or Chevy called to the pen. And Parker saw him pitch third of an inning. The 3-0 win last night. Got a ground ball. And so he will face John Jay, Rob Johnson, and Daniel Descalso for the Cardinals here in the home half of the 7th.
And for the first time in a very long time, the Cardinals bullpen is setting up for what they've done so well this season in terms of using Rosenthal and Mojica in the 8th and the 9th.
Head-to-head, and the Cardinals have really dominated the series in St. Louis since 2011. 16 of the 22 meetings that they have won. If you're a championship team, you're supposed to do that against teams that are rebuilding like the Cubs are this season. Last year, over 100 losses. Home half of the 7th, and here's John Jay, 4-2 St. Louis. And a slider in there for a strike.
You know, if you're a Cub fan and you hear that word rebuild, eventually you want to see a building, don't you? I mean, when you rebuild,
frustrating. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, you're building towards what? And you know, the Pirates used to use that year after year, that they were rebuilding, and then they would get to the point where they would have a core of really good players, and then they would get rid of them all and say we're rebuilding again. Well, rebuilding, are you perpetually rebuilding, or are you rebuilding for a particular time certain down the road where you're going to try to compete? I think that's a question Cub fans legitimately can be asking.
We joke about it, but you know, it is something that they have tried. They've looked at drafting various types of pitchers. They played all the day games, and they looked at players that could, you know, withstand the heat of Chicago, which it doesn't get overly hot, but day games, you're talking about a number of games that will be hotter than playing at night. Sinker ballers, fly ball pitchers. What type of hitters are we looking for? I mean,
speed, not speed.
Exactly. Power versus speed. Blake Parker, the strikeout to start his night. I will say this, though, Rick, it's going to be tougher for Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer to rebuild in Chicago, more so than what they did in Boston, because the rules have changed with what you can do in the draft, and you know, the fact that there is a cap and the compensatory picks that teams will lose. You know, that did not exist when you look at what Boston was able to do in the years that Theo Epstein was there. Now, they drafted very well. Their second championship, a lot of homegrown players that were very good players. But that first championship, he also walked into some pretty good players as well. Johnny Damon, Ramirez, Pedro Martinez, Derek Lowe. You know, those type of names were there, and still some of those guys were in the primes of their career. So it's a completely different situation in some ways for Chicago, and then trying to be creative and, you know, look for the Cuban defectors, and they've done that as well.
We say that about football. It's hard to overcome a bad draft, and I think in baseball it didn't used to be as true as it is now.
Definitely.
I think drafting the right guys matters.
1 ball and 1 strike. Rob Johnson. And that's fair. Johnson thinking two, slipped, and he is out. And hopefully he's not hurt. Nearly tripped, making the turn around first base. And then it looked like made that split-second decision. Do I go? Do I go back to the bag? Made the wrong choice.
The initial choice was probably the right choice, but once he tripped and stumbled, he had a hard time regaining his balance and then just kind of stayed committed to it. He's running hard out of the box, give him credit there, but when he goes past the base, he's already kind of committed, and he stumbled and I think he was a little concerned, probably, Dan, at that point, that if he didn't keep going, he might get thrown out with the ball coming behind him after stumbling. And too bad. He, I think, would have had an easy double there had he not tripped.
Creative slide made that very close, too. Here is Descalso. Grounded into a 4-6-3 double play. Cardinals have hit into 2 double plays tonight. Daniels also struck out.
The formula for the Cardinal winning ways to get them to 20 games over 500. Good starting pitching, timely hitting, and the 8th and 9th inning of Rosenthal and Mujica. And time after time we saw wins like that. And if they have their stuff again tonight, the formula will work again.
Our studio and a Bommarito Sports Update with the one and only Pat Paris. So it could be worse. The 4 errors in the game, but yet only trailing by 2 late. Trevor Rosenthal, our Chevy call to the pin, appearance number 53 for the 23-year-old out of Lee's Summit, Missouri. Rosenthal has been very good here at home, appearing for the 28th time here at Busch Stadium with an ERA that is under 2. The fastball misses high and away. 2 balls and no strikes. Wellington Castillo. He has homered tonight, walked, and then lined out, but picked up an RBI to left and quickly 3-0.
Pirates in Colorado delayed by rain at Coors Field. Cardinals begin play tonight 4 games behind the Pirates.
And this is the team, Rick, that Rosenthal has had some issues against this year. ERA is close to 5 against the Chicago Cubs. They've actually hit .261 against him. Not many teams can lay claim to that.
Good fastball hitting team. They're a team with some power, too.
It's another one of those oddities, but maybe it's not for you. lefties hitting .202 against Trevor Rosenthal. Right-handers .261.
That is odd to me. He does have a good changeup, which he'll use against left-handers, really right-handers too. And for the second straight inning, the Cardinals bullpen has allowed a walk. In fact, 3 straight innings. A base runner for Chicago to start the inning.
When the Cardinals activated Michael Wacha and brought him up, made him part of the roster to make the start tonight, some thought Michael Blazek could be sent down. It was Carlos Martinez. Out to visit Johnson.
One thing that Trevor Rosenthal has done some of in the past is rush to the plate. And it's not even rush from pitch to pitch. But again, you talked earlier, Dan, about working quickly being a good thing. There's still a pace that's appropriate, and then there's such a thing as working too quickly. And there are times you rush to the plate with your body and your arm drags. And when that happens, you're typically up in the zone. Just kind of take a deep breath. Stay back, stay over the rubber just a tad longer, and throw downhill.
The 2-0 to Shearholtz is high. 3-0. Mike Matheny can't wait much longer to get somebody up and throwing, and now right-hander is getting loose. That's Mejica.
That pitch well framed by Rob Johnson. That was very close to being ball 4. Did a nice job of kind of pulling that pitch towards the zone. Even though it was 3-0, he knew his pitcher needed that pitch.
Walked him.
Tried to do it again.
Walks. Derek Lilliquist out to visit. Well, the Cubs have had their chances thanks to walks tonight. They received 3 by Michael Wacha in the 3rd inning. Couldn't score. Last inning, leadoff walk to Gillespie. Then Segras came in, got the next 3. This inning, back-to-back walks. Dangerous man at the plate. Numbers say he's not, but we know better than that. Starlin Castro, 4 for 8 against Rosenthal.
Double play sure would make everybody feel better on that Cardinal infield, and especially Trevor Rosenthal.
Outfield is deep. First pitch to Castro. Take it for a strike.
Castro's hit into 14 double plays this year.
Nothing in 2.
You want the strikeout or the double play?
Take 2 and then the strikeout. Does that work for you?
Make it 2.
It's an out of play.
I'll have what he's having.
It's 100 on the gun. The 0-2 waved at by Starlin Castro. Strikeout for Rosenthal. Missouri Lottery Fox tracks, and this will show you that Castro expanded his own.
Well, he's got to protect. It's just off the plate. He's been struggling with that plus fastball, and well, if anybody's got a plus fastball, it's this guy, Trevor Rosenthal.
So every pitch has been 95 or harder. He's not messing around. All fastballs, and come and get it. Back-to-back walks, the strikeout, and now Cody Ransom. Ransom is grounded into a double play. One of two turned by the Cardinals tonight. On the outside corner. Ransom also tripled down the right field line on a diving catch, at least the attempt by Beltran, and struck out swinging back in the second. Late with that swing, 99.
We normally see more off-speed pitches from Rosenthal with Molina behind the plate. I wonder if this is a product of Rob Johnson just wanting to see that dead red from Rosenthal, believing that that's the best way to get through this Cubs lineup. We have not seen an off-speed pitch in 18 pitches.
Won't see it again, 99. He's hit 100 twice.
We're going to see 20 straight fastballs.
Hits it again. Rosenthal has told me a number of times, Rick, that when he was a starter, he would hit triple digits in the fifth. It would take him a while to get it going. He said, now that didn't mean I was throwing 88.
Right.
Yeah, he's still throwing 95 to 97, but by the fifth, he said, I'm warm, I'm ready to roll. Well, this will be pitch number 21. And he's getting it going. You just don't see major leaguers do what he's doing. Number one, throwing as hard as he is, but fastball after fastball here.
Well, I mean, there's good and bad with that. He's at 21 pitches now, and he has not established anything else, and there are 2 runners aboard. So we can be as excited as we want to be about 99 and 100, but he's got a problem. The problem is he better get a good pitch here, or the trouble gets worse.
And what you're saying is you can throw 100, but you got to throw strikes.
Yeah, and how do you even possibly think now, after 22 fastballs, I'm going to drop a changeup on him? I mean, if he did, he'd probably have to go to the chiropractor tomorrow, but I'm talking about the hitter, Ransom, because he'd be so far out in front, twist himself in a knot, but you have to throw a fastball here.
Here's a 3-2. Got him. Hits 99 on the gun. May have gotten away with ball 4.
Well, he's living and dying with it.
I think you would agree, Rick. These types of moments when you know it's coming. From a fan's perspective, it is fun to watch. Anybody that comes in and can throw this hard. Fans enjoy it. We talk about the speed, the power, and Rosenthal can do that.
Carpenter came in to check on the signs, but I'm not sure why he bothered. '79 strikeouts. Only Kenley Jansen with more out of the bullpen.
0-1 to Darwin Barney. 1 ball and 1 strike. Barney tonight fly to right. Popped out with a runner at third and 1 out back in the 4th. That was a key out and a key play by Johnson. Also grounded out to third.
Before it's over, we may see 30 straight fastballs in this inning.
This is number 26. This is something else, isn't it? 26 fastballs in a row.
What are you guessing here?
Split finger. Ephus.
Number 1.
1-2. Do you think Rob Johnson, I think his hand is hurt a little bit after an inning like this? Just a bit sore. He's seen 27 pitches. The number 28 here, near 100 miles an hour.
And as exciting as this is, there's a degree to which Rosenthal's just throwing right now. I mean, he's throwing hard. Don't get me wrong. And I would love to have it, as anybody else would, the arm to be able to throw that hard, but he's just kind of rearing back and letting it go.
The 2-2. A liner into right field, and 1 run is in. The relay, no. They tied it up.
"29 straight fastballs from Rosenthal here in the 8th inning, and Darwin Barney quiets the crowd on the 29th. Takes this pitch the other way. The 2 walks score. And Michael Wacha will not pick up his second big league victory. The second time the Cardinals have blown a save on his behalf.
Yeah, the other one was against Kansas City. And here is Diner Navarro. Navarro, switch hitter. Cardinals talked about having interest in him among many teams as a insurance policy concerning their catching situation. Here's a 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Top of the 9th, San Diego leads Cincinnati 3-1. 4-4 game now. 1 ball, 1 strike on Navarro. What do you know? A breaking ball. Check swing did not go.
And a pretty good one.
A liner down the right field line and a fair ball. 1 hops off the wall. Chicago has a lead 5-4. Navarro comes through. The Cardinals are 1 strike away from keeping this a 4-2 lead. Matter of moments. It changes. 5-4 Chicago.
Pitch down and in. Navarro gives the Cubs the lead. His reaction and the disappointment.
One of the rare times Rosenthal has not gotten the job done. Randy Choate coming in. It's 5-4 Cubs. Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Lone all-star this season for the Cubs, a pitcher, Travis Wood, and he is now pinch running for Navarro. He's had a very good season as Wood, part of the Sean Marshall deal that sent Marshall to Cincinnati. Wood came over to Chicago, so he'll be the pinch runner. Navarro is out, and the top of the lineup, David DeJesus, Randy Choate is in.
Navarro's had a good season, as you mentioned, and had an MRI yesterday. He had a bad knee, but delivered some pain to the Cardinals. Our Chevy call to the bullpen, Randy Choate. Had a very good season.
1-0 pitch. Ground ball that's hit to short. Descalso makes the play. So again, the Cardinals have to come from behind tonight. They trail for the first time. It's 5-4. The eighth. A stunned crowd here in St. Louis. Matt Holliday earlier tonight with our Nissan drive of the game. Got the Cardinals on the board, gave them the lead at 3-1 with a 3-run shot. Chevy called to the pen. Pedro Strop.
Been very good out of the pen for Chicago. Nasty slider. ERA under 3, and they really believe that he is going to be their closer eventually. Their closer currently is Kevin Gregg, who we saw here last night. We also saw Strop. He pitched an inning, walked a batter, struck out a batter. But we, with what we saw last night, agree that he has closer type stuff with that slider. Adrian Chambers, the pinch hitter. In on the grass at third is Ransom. Frustrating top of the 8th inning. The Cardinals, boy, if ever they could use one of those magical comebacks, it would be tonight.
Yep, this would be one of them. So Chambers scored that magical run against the Cubs in 2011. Game that the Cardinals had no business coming back and winning, but did. 1-0 pitch on its way. 1 ball, 1 strike. 5-4 Cubs lead. 1-1 pitch to Chambers. Third baseman Ransom can back up a step or two with 2 strikes. Big gap in right center as the outfield is shallow. Right-hander throwing in the pen for St. Louis. Cardinals have their one lefty out there now, Sam Freeman, Mejica, and Blazek.
The Cardinals have a quiet Busch Stadium.
The 2-2. Adrian just got a piece. Talking with Chambers the other day, and very disappointed about the fact that didn't play as well as he would have liked in spring. That carried over to regular season play, but picked it up in the month of July, and here he is. Chambers with a fly ball out to center. One away. Pennant race in the Central Division heating up. Features key matchups with the Pirates and the Reds. You can see those games for $8 courtesy of McDonald's. Just head to cardinals.com/McDonald's to get those $8 seats.
Get the right guy at the plate right now if you want to start a scoring situation. He's done it twice. 4th inning, 6th inning. Scoring both times. Matt Carpenter.
So the 45 multi-hit games. Single up the middle, scored a run in the 4th. A double to left center and scored on the double by Beltran. The 2-0 pitch. Taken for his strike. Cubs are very high on this right-hander, Strope. Back into their bullpen is had all kinds of issues. Carlos Marmol. Kevin Gregg has settled things down, but he is not the future. Carpenter slaps it to third. 2 away. This is a series that began, Rick, that we said Cardinals realistically against a team like Chicago, with the Cardinals in the race, at least you take 2 of 3, if not sweep.
Right.
And right now they're on the cusp of dropping the first 2 and being swept potentially tomorrow.
But as we mentioned, a team like the Cubs that has played better actually on the road than they have at home, still they're a big league team, and if you don't get them down early and kind of push them down, they might kind of start thinking they're better than they are and play you tough and be that spoiler. And unfortunately, we've seen a little bit of that. The Cubs prevailed here yesterday. They had good starting pitching from Chris Russin, and the bats came alive for them in the 8th inning against Trevor Rosenthal out of the blue.
Cardinals Live. Pat Paris and Jason Isringhausen are standing by. Michael Wacha makes his 4th big league start. They've got some Michael Wacha stats that may surprise you. Matt Holliday on a roll. They'll look at his surge. Plus, we'll have Mike Matheny's post-game comments as well. Guys, Mike Matheny looking for a little bit of a comeback here.
No doubt, trying to find any combination to get his offense going. And remember, with the second wild card, Cardinals still in very good position, 6.5 in front of Arizona for that second spot. However, we didn't anticipate talking against the Cubs on a Saturday night with the way the team was rolling a couple weeks ago about the second wild card. So to put it in perspective, yes, bad stretch, however, still in a very good spot.
Well, it's not plan A, but it's certainly worth looking at. And, you know, there are those that don't like the scoreboard watch, but the reality is there's a lot of teams that are playing bad baseball in the National League that are kind of taking themselves out of consideration, like the Phillies have done it. The Nationals are starting to do it. So I think it's okay for us to kind of be checking out the scoreboard as fans and realizing that, you know, you get into playoffs, anything can happen. And again, there's plenty of season to go. Michael Blasek, our Chevy call to the bullpen, making his 10th appearance. Seen some flashes of brilliance from him. Times he's had a little bit of a control issue, but the 9th inning is his, and a 1-run game is his.
By the way, the Cardinals still have the heart of the lineup coming up. Craig, Holiday, Freeze.
And back to the wild card, the Cardinals still, and this is almost hard to believe to say this, the 5th best record in all of baseball.
Right.
I mean, maybe that's all you need to say is, look, it's not all doom and gloom. It has not been good lately. No question about it. But projecting forward, well, is not an exact science. Ask anybody that's followed the Dodgers this year, anybody that's followed the Braves. Oh.
Inside the third base line and off the sidewall, we know that Junior Lake can run. And on his way to second base. That is a very, very important run, potentially,
yes,
for the Chicago Cubs to give them a little breathing room.
Just inside the bag, no chance for Freeze. And point talking about Blasek being in a 1-run game, this is a high leverage situation. Even though the Cardinals are trailing, that run is critical. He's got to find a way to keep that from scoring and give his offense a chance in the 9th, and the Cardinals will have the middle of their order. Greg, Holiday, Freeze, Matt Adams on the bench available.
There's Rizzo singled into right back in the 5th. Blasek, remember, pitched out of a jam over the weekend, last weekend in Cincinnati on that Saturday night game. Cardinals eventually lost it. It was his 2nd inning of work that got him into trouble. First inning, though, was remarkable. Gave the Cardinals hope. Ground ball to the right side, so Rizzo the productive out. Lake advancing from 2nd to 3rd. Remember, the Cubs had a runner at 3rd, 1 out back in the 4th. Darwin Barney up. They couldn't deliver, but boy did he deliver in the 8th. So he tied it up with a double that scored 2, and then eventually he scored what now is the go-ahead run. Long rain delay for the Pirates and the Rockies, but they're underway now. First inning, no score. Infield is drawn in, and a nasty breaking ball there to Castillo.
Not sure where that pitch was.
Budweiser player of the game is Wellington Castillo. A couple of walks, solo home run, 2 runs scored. Also a pair of RBIs. Outfield straight away, infield is in. Here's a 1-0 pitch.
Good test for Blasek here. I mean, you don't want to be doing auditions for late situations and close situations for a young pitcher with so much on the line, but Cardinals really forced to use him here. And now you've got 2 base runners. So plan B is set up for a double play with Nate Schierholtz.
.275 with runners in scoring position. You have a lefty out there in Sam Freeman, who has been throwing. Then you're left with Edward Mujica in your bullpen. Cardinals have used Choate, Segrist, Rosenthal, Manus, Blasek.
Why have the Cardinals used so many relievers? Very good answer to that question.
And that's a base hit into right field. Schierholtz makes it 6-4.
Insurance run added. Derek Lilliquist out to talk to Blasek. One more look at that play. Coming off the bag is Alan Craig, diving for it. Hit hard to right. The reason the Cardinals have used so many relievers is Michael Wacha was only able to go 5. The high pitch count,
the walks.
And so now you've got 4 innings of a close ball game to deal with, and you run into trouble. You bring the lefty in, and the next thing you know, you've gone very deep into your bullpen. It's been a really rough 8th and 9th inning for St. Louis. Hard to watch.
Good breaking ball and a strike at the knees to Castro. 1 out, runners at first and third. Outfield is straight away. 0-1 pitch, and Castro waves at it. 0-2. It's a pitch that Rosenthal was able to get him to chase. Pitch on the outside corner. Back in the 8th inning, has an infield hit that was off of Seth Manus, then erased on a double play. He's grounded out to short, and also singled between third and short his first time up. Here's the 0-2. First strikeout for Blasek. Cody Ransom looking at his strike. Craig, Holiday, Freeze, all with hits against Kevin Gregg. The closer. They're all coming up. One ball, one strike. Cody Ransom. A triple back in the fourth, left stranded. 2-1. You can hear a pin drop right now at Busch Stadium. Did not go. And we talked about it, how Sam Freeman was getting loose at that point in time to face Schierholtz, now just standing on the mound. I brought it up at the time because Schierholtz is hitting well below the 200 mark against lefties. There was a time to use him. That may have been it. I also understand you're trying to protect yourself. You know, later in the games, you're going to need, in this game, you're going to need pitching potentially if you tie it up.
But that
get to that point first.
Exactly. Boy, that's a tough place to be for a manager. And Dan, I think your question was a good one. And looking back on it, maybe even more clear than it was at the time, although it was clear to you that it was a situation for Freeman to perhaps be used. And of course, it begs the question, why is he warming up anyway?
Exactly. So 2 outs and the base is loaded. Darwin Barney has come through tonight for Chicago.
Then you'd have the problem if Freeman came in and didn't get Schierholtz, or even if he did, you've got a bunch of right-handers to follow and nobody else to go to. And I think maybe that's the decision that was made, and maybe he was up throwing just to see, you know, Blasek was way out of whack, and maybe enough positives were seen in what Blasek was doing to say, well, we'll roll the dice with him. But I think your question's a good one. And either way, it didn't work out.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Bases loaded. Pitch number 24 of the inning. Ground ball. Backing up to Scalzo, has to go across the diamond and makes the play. Big bats coming up. Is there a comeback? We'll find out. Cardinals down by 2.
Job to try to close it out for the Cubs and try to win game 2 of this series after a victory here last night. Greg has developed a sinker to go along with his fastball that he's used up in the zone most of his career, and the first time teams see him, we're told they have trouble with him, but then they start to figure him out as the series goes along. So we'll see if that happens with the Cardinals here tonight. Greg pitched the 9th. The Cubs 3-0 victory here on Friday night, last night, and we'll have the middle of the Cardinals order here in the bottom of the 9th here tonight.
So Alan Craig leads it off. Twice he's come up with runners in scoring position and shockingly wasn't able to bring them in. 0 for 3. Pair of ground outs also flied out to center. Cardinals trail 6-4. First pitch is fouled back. It's another night, I think, Rick, and we weren't talking about it prior to the comeback, but the offense has given you 8 hits.
I'd like to think that 4 runs would be enough to win. On most nights, some nights. Certainly this night.
Nothing into the count on Alan Craig. Pitch taken low in the dirt. Boy, the Cardinals just need, stating the obvious, but they need a game like tonight to come back from and build upon, and just something to jumpstart their season back in the right direction. It is flat.
Telling graphic last night that the Cardinals have done that less than anybody in the National League, where you come back in the 9th inning. Just haven't had a lot of those moments, and those emotional moments sure would be nice.
Should be out number 1. Castro. 1 away.
What you have to avoid, Dan, in moments like this, whether you're a pitcher or a hitter, is to start to maybe squeeze the ball a little bit tighter. Maybe start to press a little bit more on the ground ball. Try to do a little bit too much on the bases. Grip the bat a little tighter. All those things are counterproductive. And they're also very natural responses to pressure. And the pressure is certainly building, and they've got to find ways to just kind of relax in the midst of that. And we may view that as fans and people who follow the game as maybe a flippant reaction, but really it's the best one. Gripping the bat tighter does not make you hit them.
1 ball, 1 strike. Roger and Sharon Jarvis watching tonight. They never miss a telecast. Roger and Sharon Jarvis. Cardinal fans through and through. Hoping for a comeback tonight. 1-1 pitch. Holiday back in the 4th on a 1-1 pitch. Hit a 3-run homer. Got the Cardinals on the board. Has also walked tonight and grounded out to 3rd. Showed you the graphic earlier. He is homered against Kevin Gregg. 3 balls, 1 strike. In the air. Out to deep right. It's at the wall. It's gone. He's done it again. 2-homer night. Matt Holliday. And the Cardinals are within 1.
How important is that run in the top of the 9th now? But let's celebrate this swing by Matt Holliday. The power the other way. Starting to really get locked in. Shearholtz running into nothing but right field wall. Now there's a little buzz.
Yeah, and the fans all of a sudden back into it. 6-5. Here's Freeze off of Craig. And to Castro for the out. And Kevin Craig acting as if that was nothing. That was a rocket hit off of him. He's smiling out there.
He's not rubbing it because he can't reach it. Looked like it might have hit him in the middle of the back. Pointing to back of his shoulder perhaps. One more look. Makes the turn. Looked to be off the right shoulder. What a bad break for the Cardinals. Glad Greg's okay. Let's make that statement. But what a bad break for David Freese, who hit that ball on the nose.
Rick, that was as if it was just no big deal. You know, line shot off my back. Yeah, ho hum. So what?
Well, again, how's he going to rub it?
Can't reach back there. He'll walk off the mound, get into the dugout, and start screaming.
Where's the ice?
Jay, oh my goodness. Kevin Gregg, look what I found. The Cubs find their 2nd victory in this series. Look for a sweep tomorrow.
Some good things tonight. Waka was good, but the overriding reality of this game is frustration as the Cardinals bullpen can't hold the lead. A 3-run Cub 8th, an insurance run in the top of the 9th inning ends up being the difference.
Post-game show next. 6-5 our final.